America. Bonjour. Hi, I'm Hugh Hewitt inside the Beltway. We have a very big show today. A lot going on, including probably a visit from President Trump later in the program. You never know what can happen to a president's schedule, but we're hoping to hear from the president today. I want to open the show by thanking all of you who've stepped up to help me with food for the poor. The need has never been this urgent in Central and Southern America. Food supply relief chains are disrupted. The risk of famine has skyrocketed in Central America and especially in Colombia, flooded with Venezuelan refugees, as even day labor is disrupted by the virus. Even the ability to get the most basic of necessities, rice and beans, to people has fallen apart. Food for the Poor, though, has the best network. They deliver the most assistance. They are relying upon you. Our friends at Food for the Poor spoke to Marta, who's a mother in a remote Guatemalan village, through an interpreter. Here's how she tells the story of her children. There's simply not enough food for them on this day.
Les voy a dar, le dije, yo si tengo, yo les voy a dar, porque no tengo, ustedes también entienden, le dije.
Okay. I tell them that today we cannot eat, but another day we will have food. Yeah, we need to work in order to have food to put in our plates. I ask God for health for my children and to give us bread to have each day something to eat.
So that's hard for Americans to understand. It's hard for me to understand that people just don't even have a loaf of bread or a pear or a banana or something like that. Is the situation. Child mortality rate very high in Guatemala before the virus. Now the virus has completely disrupted everything. Look, your one-time gift of just $37 will feed one starving child in Guatemala for 6 months. 2 meals a day for 6 months. So please, call in any donation, 855-359-4673. It's a toll-free call, 855-359-HOPE. Or join my summer campaign for Food for the Poor by going to hughhewitt.com and click at the very top on that emergency food banner at the very top. And thank you. There was an emergency at the White House yesterday. President Trump began his press conference. If you weren't watching, it was very dramatic. I try to watch them all. Cut number 10, he's at the podium, and this is how it goes.
I thought I'd start by talking about some mail-in voting that just was revealed, just the news. 500,000 incorrect absentee ballot applications were sent all across the state of Virginia, including to many dead people. This was an unprecedented mailing flub that's heightened concerns about the integrity of expanding mail-in voting and mail-in voting efforts. It's a disaster. All over Virginia, 500,000 votes. So that's something you have to think about. We don't want to have a rigged election. I know that. And you have to be very careful when you mention, as you constantly do, Russia, or you mention China, or you mention Iran, or others that attack our election system. And when you have this mail-in voting, it's very susceptible. It's something that can be easily attacked by foreign countries and by, frankly, Democrats and by Republicans. And I think that it's something you have to start thinking about very seriously. Our system's not equipped for it. The post office is not equipped for it. And people should vote like they did in World War I and World War II. And your numbers will be, in 90 days or less, your numbers will be very good, I think, much better on the coronavirus or the China virus. But it's something you have to look at and say, this is just crazy. This just came out, 500,000 incorrect ballot applications sent all over the state of Virginia to many people that weren't living. They had some sent to pets, dogs. This is what we're going to get into, and it's going to be a disaster. And it's going to be thought of very poorly. It's going to hurt our country. After our news conference Saturday night and the pro-growth announcement, pro-jobs, pro-health safety, executive orders, the stock market went up 358 points today. So we issued those executive orders, and the stock market went up 358 points today. It's quite a reaction. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 are now up 50% since March, 50%. Think if you had money in there, if you put your money in March, you're 50%. The NASDAQ index continues to set new records. It's been up over 14 times, new record in NASDAQ. And the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones are going to be, I mean, the way they're going, it looks like they're just about going to be topping records hopefully soon. Excuse me?
Secret Service walks up to the president, says, shots fired outside. President says, oh, and very calmly walks off. Now, it turns out shots were fired, and police were not injured, Secret Service were not injured, but an individual was shot at the 17th and Pennsylvania intersection, which I know like the back of my hand. And that is unprecedented in the last few years. I mean, we had Truman attacked outside of the house across the street, the Blair House, and but and there may have been others with jumping the fence, et cetera. I can't remember someone civilian being shot, and it was not. I don't mean by that innocent. Apparently, quite the incident. I'll come back with the rest of the press conference, but I want you to hear Mitch McConnell as well. The president is right. The executive orders that he signed have had a very, very superb impact on the markets because the markets did not want the ridiculous, obscene package Nancy Pelosi was pushing with just giveaways to state employment fund, pension funds that have been badly run for decades. Mitch McConnell also did not want to pass a bill without liability insurance or at $600 premium unemployment. He explained yesterday cut number 7.
Here's another one of those far-left demands. Nobody gets another dime unless we indefinitely pay people more to stay home than to go back to work. Now, Mr. President, Republicans agree we ought to continue additional federal jobless benefits during this extraordinary time. Senate Republicans tried several times to stop them from expiring. The Democratic leader blocked us. Our view, which a majority of Americans share, is simply that it disincentivizes rehiring and reopening to pay people more to stay home. Statement of the obvious. It disincentivizes rehiring and reopening to pay people more to stay home. Plenty of Democrats said they saw the point and were happy to negotiate on this. Speaker Pelosi is on number 2. The House Majority Leader said, quote, it's not $600 or bust. That was the number 2 Democrat in the House. The senior senator from Maryland said, quote, we certainly understand we don't want to have a higher benefit than what someone can make working. Oh, no, but the Speaker and the Democratic leader overruled them. No deal, unless we pay people more to stay home.
He's right about that, and there's a Washington Post story this morning. New Trump chief of staff drew hard line during relief talks, challenging Democrats' approach. Mark Meadows is in the room, and he's a grown-up, and he is not going to give in to blackmail or perceived political advantage in order to bust up the economy. And I'm glad Mark Meadows is there representing the president on this. Other news and headlights in the rundown this morning. The vice president is close to his search committee wrapping it up. The Lebanon government has fallen. It's resigned. The economy had great news yesterday. College football did not. We look like we might not have college football, but college football stars and coaches are showing unity, trying to push to go forward with play. Even Jim Harbaugh made some sense yesterday, which is a remarkable thing. Global shares are rallying around the world on a bet of a new stimulus. Home building stock index reaches first record in 15 years. That's those low interest rates that Andrew and Todd.com are providing. Even China is back in the game as their July auto sales fuel hopes. But China is very upset with Donald Trump. They want him to lose. Look for them to interfere with our election. And then Jimmy Lai, who has been a guest on this show, the media tycoon in Hong Kong and an advocate for two systems, one government, and for freedom of the press in Hong Kong, has been arrested, as well as his 2 sons and members of his staff, as the Chinese government continues its crackdown. Perhaps I'll have a chance to talk with President Trump about that later in today's program. Don't go anywhere except over to HughHewitt.com. Help us out.